The Trump administration's senior leadership leaking war plans through the use of an insecure messaging app. It's made its way into a federal courtroom, and not just any federal courtroom. It was randomly assigned to Chief Judge Judge Boasberg. You may know him by how Donald Trump refers to him, that radical, lefty, lunatic judge agitator. But I know him as a federal judge who is supremely competent and is holding hearings now and just issued a new order against the Trump administration, requiring them in all of their different parts to preserve all signal chats between March 11th and March 15th. There was some humor in the courtroom provided by the judge, while outside the courtroom, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, refusing to do an investigation of what happened to find out if criminal laws have been violated, instead bashed the judge by name during an interview on Fox News, while Donald Trump opened the morning attacking again outside the courtroom, Judge Boasberg. And yet, there were moments of levity. Want to know more about it? You're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF. Let's dive in. American Oversight, a public interest group that frequently tries to encourage transparency in our government by filing Freedom of Information Act requests, public records requests under our Federal Records Act, which requires that all, not just some, all documents and communications about the people's business, about the people's transactions, our documents be preserved. Sounds like a good thing. Records management sounds like a good thing. Any mom and pop organization would have records management. We expect it at least from our government and from the highest level. Now, we know from prior reporting what happened. It's already been admitted by the Trump administration. There's no denying it. Pete Hegseth, Department of Defense. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State and Acting Archivist. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. John Ratcliffe, Head of the CIA. J.D. Vance, the Vice President, why not? Mike Waltz, soon to not be National Security Advisor, all got on a Signal chat and started talking about target packages and other war plans against the Houthis, a Yemeni-based group supported by Iran, who was attacking the Suez Canal and maritime channels. Sort of like the Air Force or the Navy for Hamas. They were attacking there in order to support Hamas in its fight against Israel, the war against Israel. Now, that's how we got there. Jeffrey Goldberg gets added by a fat thumb by Mike Waltz, again, soon not to be the National Security Advisor, into the group. He's there with 18 other people, JG, Jonathan Goldberg, and he happens also to his day job as editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. So he sees all the texts, he sees all the chats, he sees all the war plans. Hearings open up, as we know, by the Armed Services Committee and the Intelligence Committees of the Senate and the House. Most of these people have to testify, not J.D. Vance, but everybody else. Most of them start lying. The Atlantic publishes the actual text, so we know they're lying. And now it's ended up in a federal courtroom. Now, Judge Boasberg knows that he's been attacked by Donald Trump. We'll put up on the board here more attacks on Judge Boasberg that were done just before this hearing started yesterday. Radical left, lunatic judge, et cetera, and a agitator. Boasberg says he starts with a lesson at this hearing. The hearing was over the request by American Oversight, who filed the suit based on the Federal Records Act to have all of the documents preserved, to have a temporary restraining order to ensure that the administration complies with the Federal Records Act. It's not a damage suit. It doesn't seek to put anybody in jail. It seeks to put some enforcement behind the Federal Records Act. Sounds like a good thing to me. The Trump administration responded before the hearing and said, we don't need an injunction. We're doing it. The lawyers are trying to figure it out. The Department of Justice is on it, Your Honor. I'm sure that gave everybody confidence in the room. The Department of Justice is on it. Our lawyers are talking to the different departments, and we're trying to preserve these documents ourselves, even though Pam Bondi has said she is not going to do any investigation related to this, and then bash Judge Boasberg. In fact, let me take a time out and do Bondi two ways. press conference about in Virginia where she says, I'm not going to open up an investigation. Why aren't you thinking more about Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden than this issue? And then Bash goes on, doubles down on it as a political hack, and bashes Boasberg by name with Laura Ingraham. Let's play those back to back.
There's the signals chat controversy that's going on. Is DOJ involved at this point? If so, why? If not, why not?
Well, first, it was sensitive information, not classified, and inadvertently released. And what we should be talking about is it was a very successful mission. Our world is now safer because of that mission. We're not going to comment any further on that. If you want to talk about classified information, talk about what was at Hillary Clinton's home that she was trying to bleach bit. Talk about the classified documents in Joe Biden's garage that Hunter Biden had access to. This was not classified information, and we are very pleased with the results of that operation and that the entire world is safer because of it. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming.
Judge Beryl Howell is an Obama-appointed district judge, I believe in the District of D.C., District of Columbia, and is extremely upset at what he thinks is a series of attacks by the DOJ on the judiciary, saying when the DOJ engages in this rhetorical strategy of ad hominem attack, the stakes become much larger than only the reputation of the targeted federal judge. This strategy is designed to impugn the integrity of the federal judicial system. I guess the DOJ lawyers wanted to remove Judge Howell from the case, citing other what they believed were biased comments. Your reaction to Judge Howell tonight?
We do. Many judges need to be removed. Judge Howell included, Judge Reyes, Judge Boasberg. These judges obviously cannot be impartial. They cannot be objective. They are district judges trying to control our entire country, and they're trying to obstruct Donald Trump's agenda.
And Judge Boasberg is a busy judge. He was assigned to the Signal Gate, which is such a ridiculous name, but the Signal Chat case, which is a lawsuit filed by parties, which I'm not sure they have standing to file, but President Trump calls it disgraceful that this judge, again, who's ruled against you on the Tren Aragua deportations, is now assigned to the Signal case.
Yes.
Your reaction tonight to that?
Laura, he has multiple cases. I guess it's a wild coincidence against Donald Trump and our administration. And now he has the Signal case. He shouldn't be on any of these cases. He cannot be objective. He's made that crystal clear. You know, these judges are taking personal attacks too at many of the cabinet secretaries and these judges across the country. And again, they think they have authority, but it's going to be short-lived because these cases are going to get to the Supreme Court very fast. We're doing everything we can.
That's our independent attorney general for you. So I'm sorry if the judge is not believing that they don't need a temporary restraining order because they're on it and they're collecting all of this information. Sure, the Senate Armed Services Committee is demanding in a bipartisan way, led by Senators Warner and Reid, to get to the bottom of this and have the inspectors general, I didn't even know they still existed, get on this. All right, but we're now in court. So the judge says, look, let me explain to you how I got here. Here's the 2 moments of levity. This was randomly assigned to me. I know people may not think so, but let me explain to you how the random assignment system works. And then he spent a good amount of time explaining to everybody in advance, really talking to Donald Trump, that basically I didn't want this case. It was randomly assigned to me. There are 24 judges in the circuit court or the district court here. We each have an electronic card. You know, the wheel spins. Look, back in the day when I first started my career, it literally was a wheel. It was like a lottery. You know, you watch lottery numbers pick. Today's lotto 7, 9. It was like a wheel with ping pongs and little ballots. They don't have that anymore. It's electronic. But everybody's got an electronic card. And he says, I just got randomly assigned. Okay, so let's put that aside. That was the first moment where I was like, I've never been in a courtroom where a judge had to start with how he got on the case. Well, because they're moving to recuse him. Pam Bondi, as you heard, wants to get rid of him on every case. Everybody in D.C. needs to go because they all, were against Donald Trump and the Jan 6ers, whatever the argument is. That was the first moment. Let me get to the heart of what the judge ordered. The judge ordered, we'll put up the minute order here. The judge ordered that by early next week, that by Monday, that the government file a declaration confirming that they have preserved this batch, this tranche of signal messages, all signal messages, not just ones related to the subject matter of the Houthis attack from March 11th to March 15th. So it's not really a temporary restraining order. He's not there yet. This is a preservation of documents order. And he made it clear, I'm not ordering the signal messages be revealed, even though the Atlantic has already published them, which the Trump administration mentioned. Like, we don't have to preserve anything. It's in the magazine. Okay. That just shows you the depth of the depravity of this and unprofessionalism and incompetence of this administration. But the judge says, I'm not ordering the release of anything. I'm not entering an injunction. Just prove to me by Monday with a filing that you've preserved everything while we get our arms and minds around this case. And if you file it on Monday and it looks good to me, we're sort of done for this particular order, subject to briefing in the case. Now, I'm not sure he's going to ultimately, so he kind of got a voluntary restraining order agreed to by the Trump administration. That's smart. Because I had predicted that it was going to be hard to actually do a temporary restraining order in this case under the elements that are required, because you have to prove irreparable harm. And I'm not sure there's more irreparable harm in the future, although I'm sure if you start digging, there would be. But he avoided, he's smart, the judge. He avoided all that because he got the lawyer for Amber Richer for the Department of Justice to agree. So that's been done. We also know from her statements and the filing by the Trump administration that they're on the case. I feel so much better. It's like Inspector Clouseau. They're on it. And we're collecting documents, although it's unclear. We made demands on the Department of Defense and Hegseth, but we haven't gotten them yet. The only one that seems to be a good boy, he should be pat on the head and given a biscuit, is Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. So it looks like he turned over his documents and turned them over to the National Archive from his role of being on that. But we already know that some of those documents, some of those communications were deleted and auto-deleted. And that's a problem. So what's going to happen next after the bashing and all of that? We're going to have parallel tracks here. Documents are going to be preserved here by court order, by agreement. Oh, the other moment of levity before I leave is that the judge at the end, knowing that there is a fight in his other case that he's presiding over related to the likely unconstitutional exercise of phony war powers by Donald Trump in order to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport people without due process in the middle of the night to El Salvador. Does that sound like America, by the way? If this was a movie, you'd all walk out. In any event, the judge said, and there's a fight over there because the Trump administration doesn't think oral pronouncements and injunctions and rulings by judges have any merit until they're reduced to writing, even though that's not true. That's a lie. So he said, don't worry, I'm going to issue an order in writing. Ha ha. And then he did a little minute order that he put up on the docket. I love the fact he's keeping his sense of humor. Democrats have a sense of humor. We have to. Otherwise, we'd be dissolved into tears with this administration on a daily basis. So what's going to happen on these parallel tracks? I'll wrap it up here. Documents by agreement with court supervision related to the signal chat, March 11th and March 15th, preserved, while he gets to the bottom of the merits of the case about a Federal Records Act violation and what he can do about it. Trump administration's arguing he can't review it. It has to go through an administrative process. I don't think that works, but that's that case. So put a pin in that case. While in Congress and in the Senate, led by Senate and in a bipartisan way by the Intelligence Committee and the Armed Services Committee, they're trying to get to the bottom of what happened with Signal, how it's being used, so they can do their oversight and make recommendations for changes. While the Department of Justice and FBI are not taking this seriously, led by Bondi and Kash Patel, obviously, unless the person's name was Hillary Clinton, they don't care about how documents are handled. The Congress, at least the less MAGA Republicans care about this, and they're getting to the bottom of this issue as well. Maybe with inspectors general, maybe with reports, maybe with bipartisan reports. It's going to have to be whatever balls are left in the Senate and the House to have to do this, because the Department of Justice is not going to do it while this judge works through it here. And the Atlantic and the press continue, and us, we continue to do our job, bringing it to you right here. I'm Michael Popok. Come back to MeidasTouch and Legal AF for updates on this story and all other stories at the intersection of law and politics. I do my work here on the MeidasTouch Network. We have another channel, Legal AF, MTN, for MeidasTouch Network. Every hour we're doing with some great new commentators over there along with me that I curate. We're doing some great work, Legal AF MTN, and help us build that channel, subscribe to that channel as well. And then it got Legal AF, the podcast. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.